Hi, my name is Justin, aka Ghost Reader, and today I'm going to be doing the mid-year book freakout tag. And I was tagged in this by Erika over at the Perks of Books, so go give her channel a look if you're not subscribed to her already. Um, and so let's go ahead and get right into the questions. This was originally created by Ellie at Earl Grey's Books and Chammy at Is That Chammy. Um, I will be posting a link down to those channels in the description box below as well. And so there are 15 questions, so let's go ahead and get right into them. So the first question is the best book you've read so far. And the best book that I've read so far this year has been The Sculptor by Scott McCloud. I saw this on Booktube from the First Chapters channel, and Pages and Panels, Natalie at Pages and Panels, and I did not, no regrets. Great book. Filled me with emotion. That book could actually answer like two other questions on this tag, but it was an absolutely amazing book. It's about a sculptor who finds out that, death comes to him and says like, hey, I can give you the ability to make anything you want with your hands, but in exchange for that, you're gonna die within a certain amount of days. And he's like, yeah, sure, I'll take that deal. And basically, it's him trying to figure out his life within the end of that deal, and the journey along the way is just absolutely amazing. So that's my best read that I've read so far, 2018. Number two, the best sequel you've read so far. So I realized I've only read one sequel, and as far as I know, I couldn't think of anything. But I did read a sequel, but I haven't read the first book, and technically, this would happen chronologically before the first book, but that was the way it was written. So the sequel is the Tragedy of Liberation, a history of the Chinese Revolution from 1945 to 1957 by Frank de Cotter, and basically it talks about what happened in China after the communists take over, or how they took over, what they did after they took over, up until the Great Famine. So this was a very interesting book, a very what's the word I'm looking for? A very eye-opening book to what happened in China during a period of history that I don't know that much about. So this was probably the best and only sequel I've read all year. Number three, the newest release you haven't read yet but want to, and that is definitely Children of Blood and Bones by Toli Adeyemi. I almost picked this up at BookCon, but by the time I circled back to the publisher to get the book, it had been sold out, which was sad. So I didn't pick it up then, but I will be picking it up in the future and will definitely be reading it. Four, most anticipated release for the second half of the year. As of now, I don't have a anticipated release for the second half of the year, mainly because I don't really know what's coming out yet. I haven't really been looking at that, so I don't have any anticipated releases. Biggest disappointment, number five, is the biggest disappointment you had, and that is The Wasteland and Other Poems by T.S. Eliot. Just did not work for me. I did say I was going to read it over again to see like maybe if it would click for me. I haven't done that yet, but so far this was the biggest disappointment I have. Basically, this book contained The Wasteland, and then it contained two of T.S. Eliot's earlier works, which I actually found his earlier work. I think it was, what was it called? Mr. Purfrock and Other Observations, to actually be the better one that I liked out of all the poems, or the series of poems in this book. But yeah, this was the biggest disappointment so far. Question 6, your biggest surprise. So my biggest surprise would have to be Monstrous. I kind of picked this up on a whim. This is Monstrous by Marjorie Liu and Sana Takada. And I picked this up because I was in Barnes & Nobles and they had buy two, get one free. And I saw the cover art, and then I saw the inside of it. And I was like, I'll just buy it mainly for the art. Knew nothing about the story or anything like that. And it turned out to be a really good story. So this is really surprised me. and especially just to be picking it up just because basically I judged it on its cover and picked it up, and it actually turned out to be really good. I ended up buying the second volume, and actually I do have a anticipated release, and that is actually volume 3 of this series. I totally forgot about it, but it's coming out, I believe, in August, either July or August. Volume 3 of the Monster series. So far they have volume 1 and 2, which I've read on this since I've had this channel. I've read volume 1 and 2, and volume 3 is coming out soon. So that is my anticipated release for the second half of 2018. All right. Question number 7 is your new favorite author or debut, or who is new to you. And new to me is going to be Andrzej Sapkowski, who wrote the Witcher series. I read The Blood of Elves. That was the first book I read, and then I ended up reading The Last Wish, and I am planning to read The Sword of Destiny soon. So so this would be my definitely my favorite new author to me. I really like the Witcher series. I heard about it before, more so as a video game series than a book series, and I decided to pick it up. I actually buddy read this with Erika, who tagged me in this tag, and we buddy read this together, and it was really good. So definitely enjoy and have been enjoying his works. So newest fictional crush, and that will have to be Yennefer. Also who's also in the Witcher series and written by Andrzej Sapkowski. I didn't like her as much in The Last Wish, but I did like where she's kind of introduced. But I did like her characterization in The Blood of Elves. In The Last Wish, she comes off as a really cold and calculating character. The Blood of Elves kind of humanizes her, so she's not just cold and calculating, but she also has basically, I want to say, a human side to her that's not pure logic or purely driven by ambition. So that's definitely my new favorite crush. My newest favorite character, once again, is from the Witcher series, and that is Ciri. Basically, Geralt of River's ward, and a very important person in the series so far. So she's like the child of destiny. So so as you can see, the series has quite the impact on me. So because it's fulfilled like 3 of the last questions. So a book that made you cry, and a book that made me cry. Well, I don't cry really when it comes to books or movies or things like that. But a book that made me sad, at least reading it, was King Leopold's Ghost by Adam Hochschild, and just reading at what the Africans in the Congo went through, and basically the fact that it was just kind of covered up, and how sinister the king was just to get the money from the colony that he needed. It kind of makes you sad just reading it, and sad that these people didn't have a voice, or their voices have been lost. Actually, the people experiences, a lot of their voices have been lost, and but some of that is now being recovered. What can be, because a lot of it is they didn't have written, they didn't really write stuff down in that part of the world. So a lot of it's just oral tradition, and the stuff we do have usually comes down from the people who are actually doing it. So it was sad to hear what was being done in the Congo, but it's good to know that these things are now being brought to light. Number 11 is a book that made you happy, and that will have to be Paper Girls by Brian K. Vaughan and illustrated by Cliff Chang. This was I also picked this up at the same time I picked up, or did I pick it up at the same time? I think I did. Picked up the same time as I did Monsters, and I really liked this series. It had I liked the humor in it. I liked the story. So this one made me happy. I have volumes 2 and 4. Every place I go so far, I haven't been able to get volume 3, unfortunately. But I picked up volume 4 at BookCon, and Cliff Chang was there, and he actually signed it, so that was cool. So that's one of the reasons why this book also makes me happy as well. This is volume 1. Volume 4 I have on my shelf, but Paper Girls is definitely one book that makes me quite happy. And then let's see, 12 favorite book or film adaptation you saw this year. I'm gonna have to go with Avengers: Infinity War, which was adapted from the Marvel Comics Infinity Gauntlet storyline that they had. So, because I haven't seen many other book and film adaptations this year, and that would be the only one that comes to mind. 13 favorite video that you've done so far this year, and of course, if you favorite review or review that you've written this year. So, favorite video I did this year would probably be my BookCon vlog video. That was really fun to do. Being able to hang out with Ben Sanders, and being able to be with other people who like books and other YouTubers as well. That was meeting other YouTubers. That was really fun experience to have. 14, the most beautiful book you bought or received this year, and that will have to be well, this isn't really a book, but a comic book that I recently bought, if I can get the glare out, was this Batman issue number 49. On it is Batman and Selena Kyle, or Catwoman. This was done, the cover was done by Stanley Artgerm Law, Artgerm for short. I really like this work, and this is just a simply magnificent cover in my opinion. So that's the most beautiful book I bought this year. And last but not least, 15 is what books do you need to read by the end of the year? And so I'm going to go ahead and basically reveal the books that I have planned for my next quarterly reads. And so for the next quarter, I'm going to be reading War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy. I always wanted to read War and Peace. I had started War and Peace years ago, and a lot of things happened. I get to finish, but I really liked it. So this year, I plan to finish it. I'll be reading this from July, August, and September. And then in October, November, December, I will be reading the essential tales and poems of Edgar Allan Poe. I've liked the things I read that Edgar Allan Poe has done. I've liked them. So I'll be going ahead and I'm going to try to read a collection of his works, and that'll be this. And then the last book that I need to read, one of my friends, if you follow me on Twitter, you remember seeing this tweet about my friend who I took him to a bookstore, and he went directly to the mathematics section, none of which I can understand. But he also likes history as well, and he told me that if I read a particular book he found in the bookstore that he wanted to read, that he would pay me to read it. So that book was the English and the History by Robert Holmes, and this book is massive. So actually, I will be reading this over the next 6 months. So I'll be reading this from July to December. And he said basically he would give me the money for the book after I finished reading it and told him about it. So I was like, sure, why not? I get to read a book on history, and you get to learn something new. So everyone wins. So that's the end of this tag. I think I'm going to tag Carol at Rebel Carol to do this tag. And so I want to thank Erika at Person Books for tagging me in this. And if I have actually a lot of tags backlog that I need to do, so I'm going to try to get to those. Every time I do one, it seems that something goes wrong. Either there's a ton of background noise, or I go ahead and make a mistake and delete them all, and then I'm discouraged, and it takes me a while to get back to making them. So I am planning, hopefully over the next couple months, to go back and redo those tags and get them out. So if you like this video, please hit the like button. If you want to see more videos from me, please subscribe. You can follow me over on Twitter at GhostReads28, and also follow me on Goodreads. You can find the link to that down in the description box below. So guys, as always, keep reading.